Hiya. If you're just starting out learning to play accordion, you'll be faced with deciding which fingers to use for the bass buttons. And there are two main schools of thought on this. You can either use your third finger, that one, for the bass buttons, or use your fourth finger as the main finger for your bass buttons. Before we get into that choice, you need to understand a few things about the Stradella bass system. So let's just move the camera a bit closer. So in this column here at the end, we have single bass notes. And also in the column next to it, going down, we also have single bass notes. But these buttons over here, they are chords, so that is a C major chord. And a chord is just a group of three notes. So that's C major, that's C minor, the one next to it. Then we have C seventh. Now there are 7 different notes in a scale, and the scale of C major, for example, let's call the root note 1. D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, and so on. So C major comprises the root, the third, and the fifth. And the same applies to the minor scale. You have the root, the third, and the fifth. But notice that the third is a different note. That's minor, that's major. So let's look at the bass side. This is note C, there. I know that, not because of the colour, but because it's got a little dent in it, which I can feel. But the next note up isn't the next note in the scale, it's a G. It's the 5th note in the scale. And the next note up to that is a D. And that's also a 5th away from G. So there's C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the G. 5 notes up from that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a D. And so on. So that's called a circle of fifths. And there's a good reason for organising the notes that way. You see, in a lot of popular and folk music, the bass notes you will need to play a very effective bass are the root and the fifth. And that's exactly how the Stradella system is designed to play, making it easy to accompany the melody. So with the chord C major, I can easily play the root and fifth like this. And so on. Now, when you get a bit more sophisticated, you may want to incorporate other notes of the scale, like the third, for example. And the third of the scale is over here. Remember, the third of the scale is an E. That's the E. And the E is there. So you can do... Or maybe some other notes in the scale of C major, and they're called passing notes. So on. So now we get at last to the problem of which fingers to use for the bass notes, because in minor keys, that's minor, C minor, the third of that is down here. only reach that with my little finger if my third finger is on the root note. If my fourth finger was there, no, there's no way I can reach it. Also, finger 3 is naturally stronger than 4. So most professional accordionists, especially in East Europe, they use the third finger. They favour the third finger anyway. Now, a major scale is easier played going up and starting with the 4. And the major third is right here next to the root note. And now I actually use a hybrid system, and let me explain why. When I started, which was nearly 50 years ago, I knew I wanted to play music with minor chords as well as major. So I tried using 3, but I found the basic root 5th pattern a little bit awkward in major keys because my fingers were kind of touching each other here. There. I have to get this second finger out of the way. But the same pattern for a minor chord was much more comfortable. So the second finger doesn't get in the way there, and I can't hardly feel it. So I could feel that the minor third was easy to find as well. Now, using the 4 for the major root was easy. And the major third right there. But with the minor chords, if you use that system, you'd have to take your 4th finger off the root note to find your third. So I decided on a simple rule. If it was a major chord, I'd use 4. And if it was a minor chord, I'd use 3 as my main bass finger. So that's the system I've used for nearly 50 years, and it served me well enough, playing professionally for Scottish ceilidhs, East European and klezmer music, French cafe style, and so on. That's the fingering I use in my book, Accordion for Beginners, which is now out of print. But you can still get it on Patreon. You have to download it from there. So it's up to you really to try out the various options and choose what suits you and your fingers. If you've got smaller fingers, you might find that it's not a problem. And also consider the sort of music you want to be playing. Do you anticipate wanting to be able to use the thirds and play scales and passing notes in your music? I think it's over to you now.